बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। खुदा ताला सैयदना मौलाना अली क़दर मुफ़द्दल सैफुद्दीन आका ने इला यौमिल क़ियामा फ़ी सिहत व सलामा बाकी यानी बाकी રાખજો। આ વીકના અંદર આપણે સગલાએ વર્લ્ડ એન્વાયરમેન્ટ ડેને સેલિબ્રેટ કીધું અને એક ઇત્તેફાકની વાત છે કે આ ઇન્સ્પિરેશન સિરીઝનો જે થર્ડ એપિસોડ છે એના જે એક્સપર્ટ છે કે જેનાથી આપણે કરિયરની એની વાતો કરીશું અને એનાથી મોટિવેટ થઈશું, ઇન્સ્પાયર થઈશું। તો ये एक्सपर्ट ये पर्सनैलिटी एना रिसर्चनो सब्जेक्ट एक खुदा तालानी इतनी नानी खिलकत एने बनायो जेने अपने स्पैरो कहीए छे, एक नानी सी चिड़िया है, मगर ये रिसर्च से एम साबित कीधु कि स्पैरोनु एक्जिस्टन्स कितनु जरूरी है एनवायरमेंटना वास्ते अने एनी रिसर्च सी एम बी इनिशिएट कीधु अने मेक श्योर कीधु कि स्पैरो जे दुनियानी बीजा बर्ड्स है जे एंडेंजर्ड स्पीसीज ऑफ बर्डनी लिस्ट है एना अंदर स्पैरोनु नाम ना आवे अने लास्ट 16 इयर्सना अंदर एना अंदर घणुं कमालनुं काम कीधुं छे जेना सबब स्पैरोनी पॉप्युलेशन है ये घणी ज्यादा इंक्रीज थई छे। आ दुनियाना अंदर एने स्पैरो मैन ऑफ इंडियाना नामथी बी पहचानवामां आवे छे अने ए 2009 ना अंदर वर्ल्ड स्पैरो डे ने इनिशिएट कीधुं अने ये आजे 50 करता ज्यादा कंट्रीजना अंदर सेलिब्रेट करवामां आवे छे। टाइम्स मैगजीन जे छे 2008 ना अंदर एने जे 30 मोस्ट इन्फ्लुएंशियल एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट्स इन द वर्ल्ड है एनी लिस्ट ना अंदर एने भी शामिल कीधा। ये भाईनु नाम मोहम्मद भाई दिलावर है, ये एक्सपर्टनु नाम। अने ईयर 2011 ना अंदर सैयदना मौलाना अबुल कायद जौहर मोहम्मद बुरहानुद्दीन आका रिदवानुल्लाह अलैहिना सोमा मीलादना मीकात पर मुनासिबत सी एने एम भी शरफ हासिल थयुं कि ये जे स्पैरोजना वास्ते बर्ड फीडर ने डिजाइन कीधुं थुं ये हजरत इमामियामां अरज करवानुं एने शरफ हासिल थयुं अने मौलानाना मीलादना मीकात पर ज्यादामां ज्यादा आ बर्ड फीडर डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करवामां आया अने ये इवेंट गिनीज बुक ऑफ वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्डना अंदर 2011 ना अंदर दर्ज करवामां आयो छे फॉर द लार्जेस्ट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ बर्ड फीडर्स इन द वर्ल्ड। सिमिलरली लिम्का बुक ऑफ वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड्स अंदर भी एने शामिल करवामां आयो छे। ये प्रोजेक्ट सेव आवर स्पैरोज ने इनिशिएट कीधु 2011 ना अंदर अने हमना कॉमन बर्ड मॉनिटरिंग ऑफ इंडिया प्रोग्राम ने ये मॉनिटर करी रह्या छे जेना सबब इंडिया में जे 18 कॉमन बर्ड स्पीसीज है एनी मॉनिटरिंग थाय छे, एनी रिसर्च थाय छे आ प्रोग्राम ना अंदर। सो विदाउट फर्दर डिले लेट्स गेट इंस्पायर्ड बाय हिज अमेजिंग जर्नी। अस्सलामु अलैकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू मोहम्मद भाई।
Walaikum assalam everyone.
How are you Mohammed bhai? I hope
Wonderful.
Well at your side.
Everything is going on great.
Great Mohammed bhai. So Mohammed bhai, we are very much curious to know about you. I have already introduced you and
Okay.
So we would like to hear from you straight away that actually what do you do? Means we know that you are an environmentalist and you have worked on sparrow, but what do you do?
Right.
Yes.
So see, basically, people who work on birds, who work in the field of ecology, are known as ecologists, and in that my specialization is in birds. So
Okay.
basically, by profession, I'm an ornithologist. So I study birds and their behavior, and over the past 8 years, apart from birds, I've also started studying the interaction between birds and native plants.
Okay.
So we are also working a lot today on the conservation of native plants of India.
So Mohan bhai, what are the steps, career steps for a child who wants to pursue his profession into this field? Means if he wants to become an environmentalist or an ornithologist, so what should he do? What are the steps? Means from grade 10th.
So see, one of the most important thing that one needs to have to enter this field is mentally and physically a person has to be extremely strong, because this is one profession where you stay away from your home, your family, your friends and loved ones for a very, very long period of time.
Okay.
And a lot of time in total isolation in remote forest, where at times we don't even have mobile connections or any worldly comforts that we are so used to.
Okay.
Apart from that, you need a passion, you need a very strong will to do that. And at the same time, you also need to be extremely good in your subject technically.
Okay.
So once a person does his 10th standard, they can go for specialization in the science stream, and then later on they can go towards doing their MSc, PhD, and other super specialization to become an environmentalist and an or an ecologist. At the same time, to build up your career in a professional way, you also need to undertake a lot of research and publish your findings
Okay.
in the form of papers in good peer-reviewed journals, both at national and international level.
Okay, Mohan bhai. So Mohan bhai, there must be good colleges in India, across India, means where we can study this subject and
Yeah, so a lot of colleges have now started offering their courses in environmental science and ecology. Also, there are certain good institutes, like specifically after you do your BSc.
okay.
So you can also go for MSc in the most premium institute of India, like Wildlife Institute of India, which is based in Dehradun. So you can
Okay.
do your MSc from Dehradun. The Aligarh Muslim University also has a very good department of wildlife science. Plus, you can also pursue your MSc and PhD from institutes in Bangalore and other parts of the country.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Mohan bhai, for sharing this information with all of us. Mohan bhai,
Yes.
during childhood, you must have been inclined towards wildlife and plants and everything. So, can you share some of the stories means about you? Means how did
Yeah,
this
yeah. I would
idea developed
really like.
into you that you want to be an environmentalist?
So, see, from a very young age, like my childhood in Nasik was spent at my nani's place, where she used to live in a place which is called as Madrasa Chal, where
Okay.
our madrasa was also there.
I know that.
And exactly opposite to the Madrasa Chal, there used to be the municipal clock tower, on which I used to see a lot of vultures in my childhood.
Okay.
Also, around 35, 40 years back, there were a lot of sparrows in our own homes also. So my childhood went up growing seeing sparrows, vultures, and I studied from St. Xavier's School in Nasik. So luckily we had a very good ground. We had some ponds in which there were fishes. So during the monsoon season, I used to spend a lot of time seeing the flowers which bloom during the monsoon season, the butterflies. And luckily, our library also had a lot of books on animals
Hmm.
and wildlife. So from a,
Right.
early childhood, I thought that I would want to do something for birds, animals, and I was naive at that time, so I thought that the best thing you could do for animals is to become a veterinary doctor. So
Okay.
for a very long period of time, I thought that I want to become a veterinary doctor. But luckily,
Right.
during the early 90s, we got channels like National Geographic and Discovery in India through the satellite TV. And I used to
Hmm.
spend a long time seeing the documentaries which used to come during those days. And a lot of these documentaries were actually PhD theses of researchers who were working on different animals. So from that is the time when I decided, like, okay, I should pursue my career as a wildlife researcher. And later on, I was blessed to get some very good teachers and gurus who guided me well into my career, like what needs to be done, what not needs to be done.
Great.
Because Yusuf, I would like to specifically tell one thing.
Yes.
So there's very little or no knowledge in regard to how one has to go ahead in its career. So of course, people would know how to become a doctor and an engineer and an architect, but extremely super specialized field like ornithology, where very few people know, is something which is difficult. But luckily, I got some good mentors who guided me in my career, and that's how I am here. But initially, my parents were petrified Like, what are you going to do? Chasing
Exactly.
sparrows?
Anyone would be, right.
So they didn't knew. But luckily, my teachers, they came home and they convinced my parents, like, let him do what he wants to do and he will make something good out of his life. And I would specifically like to tell this point. From that point of time, my family, my mother, my father, my brother, they have stood behind me as a rock solid support. And later on, when I got married, so my wife, uh, she also has stood behind me like a support. My kids, a long time
So
I've been
important.
away from my family, my kids. So it is not only like in a career like this you can be good, but if your family doesn't support you, it can be a mess. So you need a
Exactly.
family who can understand you, who can support you, specifically in a field like this. So it's not like
Right.
a field where most of our people are used to, like a 8 to 9 job, like you go in the morning, you
Huh.
go to your office or you go to your shop and you come back. So
There is
at
no
times we are
specific
not,
routine in this.
there's no routine. Like I get a call sometimes at 2 o'clock in the morning, and at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I'm out on the field.
Okay.
So
So,
that's what I was telling. One has to be mentally, physically extremely strong to be in this field.
so there must be times means you must be spending your days and nights in jungles and forest and like that means you need
Right.
to get ready for that also, right?
Yeah, you have to be ready to be out of your worldly comforts, because see, for us, specifically when we are in forest, there is so much amount of field work. We have to collect data, we have to collect samples. So something as basic thing as food is like a luxury. So whatever we eat it. At times we just eat whatever wild fruits we get, or we can get hold of, because we have to be on the field almost before sunrise.
Right.
Before the sun rises, we have to be prepared, and that early you don't get anything to eat. So a lot of time our meals are skipped. Uh, so that's how a life of an ecologist is. But after all this thing, we live one of the most amazing life. We
Yes.
travel to some of the best places in India and abroad, where a lot of people won't get a chance to see the natural beauty of
Exactly.
Mother Earth in its most pristine condition. So this is the thing that we work every day to save our birds, our environment, our wildlife, our rivers and trees.
Thank you, Mohan Bhai. You already answered my question in this means one of my questions that what was the role of your parents and your family in supporting you when you chose this career? It's very insightful. So, Mohan Bhai, my next question to you is that when everyone I studied about you means went through your TED talk also. So, uh, when many of youngsters at that time were inclined towards studying tigers and elephants, at that time you chose sparrow, which is very humble and small. So what is the means how did it inspire you, such a small bird, and what is the story behind that?
So see, one of the thing, like from childhood, I had grown up seeing sparrows. Sparrows is something which was very close to my heart. And during the early 90s, around early 2000, when the vultures saw a catastrophic decline, like once upon a time, they were the most common raptor in the world, like one of the most common big birds. And from being the most common, present in millions, they declined to few thousands. So that was like a wake up call. And that time, because I told you previously, like I used to see vultures on the clock tower far away, and the sparrows close to my inside my house. So when I came across the reports of the vulture decline, the very next day I went around all the locations in Nasik where I used to see a lot of sparrows in my childhood. I started talking with people like, have you seen sparrows? And I realized like the sparrow
At that
population
time,
is
sorry Mohan Bhai
declining.
to interrupt, at that time what was your age when you thought this, that vultures you should go and see vultures and
I
stuff?
was around 22, 23 that time.
Okay. Okay.
So this was somewhere around 2003, 2004.
Okay. Okay, Mohan.
So out for all the research papers published in India. and I couldn't find any research paper, any data in regard to the decline of sparrows. But when I was going through the papers in UK and UK, they had done a lot of documentation for last 100 years, and that is the reason they could see that there was a decline in sparrow population. But in India, our scientific community, our government officials were just sleeping over it. So that time I made a promise to myself, like, what has happened to the vultures? The way the vultures have declined catastrophically, I'll not let the same thing happen to sparrows. I'll not let the sparrow become the rare sparrow. I'll make sure that the sparrows are always the common house sparrow. So it was a boy from Nasik trying to achieve this. So my mother was very tense. So once she called me and she said, Mohammed, I understand you like sparrows, but our country is a big place. It has so much amount of diversity. There are so many languages. There are so many states. How are you going to go out and save sparrows in such a big wide world?
Okay.
So that was like, I thought that first I should convince my mother, my family, like, why the sparrows need to be saved. So
Exactly.
I convinced my family, I convinced the neighborhood where I stay. And after I did that, I got the confidence, like, if my family is convinced, my neighborhood is convinced, I can go out and convince the world. And that's how the journey began.
Great, great, great. There is so much to learn from you, means from this story, that nothing is small in this world. Means if you are passionate enough to study it and focus on it, means and it is so important to save sparrows. That is a complete different topic. Means
Absolutely. And I'll just even answer your question why I chose sparrows. So when I went into the conservation field, I could see I got an offer from WI to study the tigers because they thought that I was good enough and intelligent enough to do research on tigers. So in fact, I had a lot of pressure from the ministry and other people, like, you should go and study the tigers.
oh,
But I told them that there are a lot of people already studying the tigers. In fact, in our community, we say, like, there are more tiger walas saving to save tigers than the real tigers out there.
okay,
So, but I thought that if I'm not going to save sparrows, no one is going to do that. So, leaving the glamorous job of saving the tigers and being in the national parks and sanctuaries, I chose to save the sparrow, which was quite a difficult thing because there was no funding, there was no support, there was no proper
exactly.
scientific data available. So, I chose a difficult path rather than going just on a highway.
And to convince everyone from the very beginning that sparrow is so important, means
Exactly.
from
Because I had to convince the people in the ministry, in the government agency, the scientific community. But in the whole journey, there were two individuals who have supported us a lot. One is the Indian media, and the second are the citizens of India. From day one, they had wholeheartedly supported us in whatever we did, and that gave us strength. So, if you see today, we have our organization has more than 80,000 members in different parts of the country, right from chief ministers to policemen to doctors to homemakers. We have people from all walk of life helping us save sparrows.
Nature
And that's
Forever
what we did.
Society, right? Your organization is
Yeah,
Nature
Nature
Forever
Forever Society.
Society. Right. Great, great, Mohan Bhai. Mohan Bhai, now coming to bird feeders for the sparrows,
Right.
Save Our Sparrow, this initiative. So, from where did you get the idea for this design? Wonderful design of this bird feeder, which does not waste that grains also, and it allows the sparrows to come and sit and it's so.
So, Yusuf, what was there is I was in UK
Okay.
for a long time studying and working with the Royal Society for Protection of Birds. And there they used to have this bird feeders. But the cost of one bird feeder in UK was somewhere around 15-20 pounds. So, as any typical Indian, I used to convert it and I used to say, oh,
Into
they're costing me
rupees,
somewhere
right?
around 2000 rupees.
Exactly.
So, while in UK, while I could easily afford to buy a couple of feeders, bring them back home to feed the sparrows, I thought that I can afford it. I'm in UK, I can get it and feed sparrows. But the common Indian citizen won't be able to buy this bird feeder. So while in UK, I studied various designs of the bird feeders there. And when I came back, I worked on few prototypes and I designed a feeder for Indian conditions, which would work well in India, which and at the same time, which would be very, very cost effective
Right.
because I'm a very typical Indian, very cost conscious about money and other things. But at the same time, I know the Indian mentality. They want things which is inexpensive but good in quality.
Good in quality.
For example, so I designed a bird feeder, and when we started with the bird feeder, it was I was almost giving a lot of bird feeders free of charge. But then what happened? People were not using it when we were giving it free of charge. So,
Right.
and there was no funding for us to do the work for saving sparrows. So that time we designed the Adopt Nest Box and Bird Feeder scheme, where we wanted people to adopt a responsibility. We don't wanted checkbook charity like people just donating us money because that money couldn't have helped us save sparrows. But when anyone adopts a nest box or a bird feeder, they adopt a responsibility and they create vital habitat for sparrows and other birds, which is really important. So we started with a very simple design and a very a cost like right from a very a lower middle class person to someone who's rich would be able to buy it. And that is, I think, what has really worked for us. We have consistently kept a lot of attention on the quality, innovation, and other things. And we have kept our cost very less. So 15 years back when we started providing this feeders, it was for around 75 rupees or so. And today also it is around 110 rupees. So we have made sure like that it is not very costly because if we make costly, people will not get it and the sparrows won't be saved.
Exactly. Just in my colony, I can see 3 to 4 bird feeders daily and reminds me of you.
Yes.
This bird feeder, this reminds me of 100th Salgira of Aka Maula Sayyidina Muhammad Burhanuddin.
Right.
And I still remember that I myself, I went through to Mumin's places and we distributed these bird feeders. So what was that experience? Can you share that wonderful journey of yours?
Yeah. So see, before Aka Maula Salgira, I was closely associated with Burani Foundation India, which is the organization that Aka Maula runs in Mumbai. So 100 Milad was like a once in a lifetime opportunity for all the moments to celebrate. And it was a wonderful thing. So everyone was trying to do their own bit to show their gratitude, show their love towards our beloved Aka Maula.
Right.
And I just thought that, see, what a person like me can do to do this thing. So I want to do something for Maula which the world would take notice of. And we want to do a project where we want to distribute around 52,000 bird feeders free of cost. And the idea is to create 52,000 opportunities for sparrows to save. So everyone really loved the idea. And I was lucky enough to meet Aka Maula in person. He gave us a lot of time. He understood the project. And I would like to share with you a wonderful experience of the superhuman qualities of Aka Maula. Like when we said, okay, we are going to distribute the bird feeders, he said, ke khali mat apjo, put grains, then distribute. Because he thought that, okay, if we would just give it empty, people will just keep it in the showcase or something. And at the same time, Aka Maula also said, ke distribute it to everyone. Don't restrict it only to Momins, but it has to be distributed to everyone who wants it. It was such a wonderful experience. It was a story straight out of a picture. Like the project was approved somewhere late in December, and we had just 2 months to prepare for and make 52,000 bird
52,000
feeders.
bird feeders.
We had
Right.
absolutely no infrastructure. But when I came out, I had no idea how we are going to do it. And જેમ કે આપણામાં કઈ છે ને મોજીઝા થયા,
Yes, yes, yes.
it was all like, it was like someone was coming up and doing things for us.
You are being
We
helped,
got vendors
right?
who were making things. All of a sudden, there was labors just came out of nowhere, and it was just like we were not doing anything. Everything was being done by someone else. So probably that was the power of Akamola. It was his miracle, his blessings. And that time when we envisaged the project, so I thought that, see, I'm too small a person, but Mari vi niyat hati, like when we complete the project, we should give Akamola Guinness Book of World Record for this small, very humble thing. And
This
we
entered into Guinness
distributed the
Book of World
bird
Record, right?
feeders on 6th of March, which was Akamola's English
Birthday.
birthday.
Yes.
Birthday. And by the time the Milad came, the Guinness Book of World Records certificate was ready just in the evening before Milad. And Abdali Bhai Sahab got it flown in from London, and the next day during the Betak, it was presented to Akamola. So it was something which my words might not do justice to, but from that day, my life changed forever. I still feel the weight of Akamola's hand on my hand while I was doing salam to him. I can still feel the support every day behind me. And I don't know, from that day to this days, everything has been wonderful in life.
Really, Mohan bhai. We see that blessing and that barakat still in you today, what you are working on and the projects you are taking. It is easily seen.
Absolutely. I don't think a lot of things that we do, a lot of things that we have achieved would have been possible without the blessings, love of Akamola in all of our life.
And
I
know
really feel,
yes, Mohan bhai, please go ahead.
I really feel the blessing and the touch every single day of my life.
Thank you, Mohan bhai, for sharing such an amazing story. Means zikr of Sayyidina Muhammad Burhanuddin Aqa. Everyone of us has such a memory of our beloved Mola.
Absolutely.
Yes, Mohan bhai. Mohan bhai, coming to the conclusion, I want to ask you that now, keeping in mind India and the foreign countries, what is the scope of what you are doing? Means of being an environmentalist and an ornithologist.
So see, the present situation is a very difficult situation in India and abroad.
Okay.
Because as you all know, we are going through a pandemic for last 2 years.
Yes.
And the governments are cutting on funding, the corporates are cutting on funding big time. A lot of the work that we do, the funding comes from corporate social responsibility, which is also called as CSR. And the international funding comes from other international funding organization. Or so presently in India, it's a very difficult situation. Funding is very difficult to come at this point of time. And that's why I give an advice to a lot of the youngsters who want to pursue environmental field. Like it is a difficult time at this point of time. So what you should do, you should choose a alternative profession which is getting you the money, because my gurus have taught us, like, without money, conservation is conversation. Your money is very important. It has to come, because for few days this hobby and all this business works, but later on in life things get difficult, and we are passing through one such difficult field.
Exactly.
So for a lot of people, I would advise, like, if you are really keen to pursue the field, you should apply for places like Canada, New Zealand, America, where the universities still have good amount of funding in doing these things.
Okay.
But and in India, if you really want to work in this field, you will then have to join a government duty, like for example, the forest department or other government agencies. But as far as because a lot of NGOs now, the compliances have increased for CSR funding. The foreign funding coming under FCRA has become really difficult. So this is a little bit difficult time. And alternatively, but what one can do is he can get into feel like opening up a professional work, like the way we also get a lot of our funding done from doing consultancy for corporates and other professional organizations. So that at least keeps the bread and butter coming.
Okay.
And then we utilize that money a lot for undertaking research and other conservation work that we do.
Great, great. Okay, Mohan bhai. Thank you so much for sharing all your journey till now. It's so much insightful, so much experienced, and so much knowledgeable. And it was very much practical also, especially the last advice which you gave.
So there is a huge amount of scope in a lot of other fields. Please explore. And the world out is wonderful. Everyone embraces you with an open arms and hands. So
Exactly.
just go out and do whatever you love to do in your life. Like I would have been a very bad businessman had my father forced me to sit in his hardware and plywood shop. So one should really pursue what he likes, whether you want to become a painter, you want to become artist, whatever you want to become, just feel free to follow your passion. It's wonderful that you have initiated this wonderful
Thank you, Mohan
project.
bhai. Thank you.
I hope you get all the success, and we are all there for you whenever you need us.
I'm honored, Mohan bhai, for by your support and by your generosity of words and your wishes. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mohan bhai.